But if you get a chair, because I called this on
All right, as you all are finding your seats, just wanted to talk to you for a minute about our theme for this year. As you know, our theme is reflecting God's Spirit. It comes from 2 Corinthians 3:18, which says, "And we all, with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord who is the Spirit." So our goal this year is to reflect the glory of the Lord, to become more and more like Christ. One of the things that will happen when we're like Christ is that we will exhibit the fruit of the Spirit. So our theme for our guest speakers this year is the fruit of the Spirit. This being our first speaker, what fruit are we going to be focusing on today?
Love.
Love, absolutely. So some of you may recognize our speaker. He was here with us last year. He came in his capacity as a friend of mine from Comfort Zone Camp, which is the camp that we both volunteer at for children who have lost parents. And he came to share his own personal story of loss and the ways that the Lord has healed him and brought him to the place where he is now. We've invited him back, though, in his professional capacity, because he is a professional money manager, and he has come to talk to us about money and what God has to say about it and how we can become more like God in the way that we use our money. So if you would please welcome with me, Mr. Tom Love.
Thank you, RV. Oh, I'm excited to be back here, guys. Thanks for inviting me. I go by Tom Love for work, so sometimes she calls me Tom. Like, it's more fun that I'm Tommy Love, right? That's what I went by in high school, and it just flows really good to say it all together. And so part of the reason I'm up here is because I'm a money manager. I manage people's money for a living, and also because my last name's Love, and it's the month of love, so I gotta be here, right? So I'm excited to be here. Hopefully we can learn a little bit more about love and how that relates to money, and give you guys some practical tips to try to make some more money. So hopefully that'll be helpful for you guys. So this is my family. So right now we have 2 kids, 2 little girls, and they are adorable. And so when I think about love, the first thing I think of is my family. My wife is amazing. She's a nurse practitioner, and she is just someone that is very sweet. We're both very similar in our personality types, and so we actually get along really well because we understand each other, but we also butt heads a little bit, right? So that's okay. We can kind of move forward with that, but basically, you know, these kids are just adorable. And when I get home every day, my 2-year-old, the older one, she runs towards me. She says, "Daddy," and it just gives me a great big hug every single day. And when I think about the love in my life, this is it right here. So these little ones are just adorable. We have a baby boy coming in January, so we're gonna have 3 kids under 3, which is pretty crazy of us to do that, but we're very excited about it. So that's a little bit of love in my personal life. But let's talk about what God has to say about love. So right before Jesus died, he went to Jerusalem. We all know the story. He was the Messiah. Everybody's excited about him. Well, as soon as he gets there, he's like, "Hey, you guys are messing up." The Pharisees, the religious leaders of the day, were attacking him. They're intense, and he's defending himself. And at the end of that, he says this. They say, "You know, what's the greatest commandment?" They're trying to trick him a little bit, and he said, and they ask him what the greatest commandment is. So he says, "The greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself." So the overarching theme of God is to love. That is it. That is the number one thing. Love God, love each other. So that's easier said than done, but that is our biggest command to do, is to love. And so God's primary ethic is love. That's what he's all about. And in order to have love, we have to have free will. And that sounds a little bit weird. We have to have this freedom. But think about it like this. I can't force someone to marry me. I mean, people used to do that, but that's not love. You know, you can't really force someone to love you or be friends with you. So in order to have love, we have to have this freedom. So that's the second thing here. And then the third is that free will allows evil into this world. So sometimes, philosophically, we're getting a little deeper here, but philosophically, people will say, well, if God is love, then why is there all this bad stuff happening? Okay, because there's free will. We need free will in order to have this love. So that's why evil comes into the world. And guess what? When we have evil in the world, we do dumb stuff, right? We all know that. We all do dumb stuff. But we do dumb stuff with money in particular. So part of what we're talking about is, why are we talking about money today? We're talking about love. What is this connection here? So this is the connection. The number one reason for divorce is money. The number one thing that Jesus preached about is money. Over 800 scriptures are about money. So it's not necessarily money itself, it's the love of money, the relationship that we have with it. But this is a very, very important topic, and we don't talk about it a lot because it's awkward. You don't know how much money people have by looking at them or anything like that. And, it's just a challenging topic. But that's why we're talking about money today, because it is so impactful as far as preventing us from having love for each other. And so one of the most famous scriptures on that is right here. So in 1 Timothy, those who want to get rich fall into temptation, a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. Woo! That's tough, right? For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And so some people will kind of misquote that, and they'll just say money is the root of all evil. That's wrong. So we know the love of money is the problem. Money itself does not do anything wrong. It's just an inanimate object. But our going after it. So you see that in our society. Our society in the U.S. is all about money, right? And you guys, most of you are probably broke. So you're thinking, yeah, I'd love some money. Tom, you got money? Come on, let's get some money, right? And I think that our culture is to say, can I get this great car, this great house? What can I do with money? And kind of going after that is our primary goal. And so I think that Jesus' overall message is, don't do that. Money for thousands of years has been a really big thing in our heart. It takes over and it's really tough. And so the love of money is this really, really intense thing that we have to be mindful of and be careful of. So we're going to kind of talk more about some more specifics on that. A lot of the way we think about money and sort of moving forward with it is to say, well, if I just get this good grade, then I can get into this good college, and I get this good job, and then I can just get this good career and make this good money and maybe get a good wife or kids or whatever. And so we kind of go through this mentality of, if I can just get this next thing, then I'll be happy. If I can just do well in sports or impress my parents enough, then I'm going to be happy. Then I'm going to be in a good spot. And that's just not how it works. All the surveys, everyone says that higher income does not equal happiness. So people that have all this money and all this stuff, they're not actually any happier. And that's a little bit surprising to us because we think, man, I'd be pretty happy if I had a Ferrari right now, right? But it's, think about if you had a Ferrari and you were still sad, how sad you would feel, because you're like, I got this Ferrari, what's going on? Only 10% of happiness is external. So when you see someone and they got all this cool stuff, that doesn't mean that they're happy. Only 10% of what they have is influencing their internal world. And so I think that's helpful for us to understand sort of, it's a folly game to go after this achievement, and you can go on that your entire life and miss out on the thing that's inside. That's the more important thing than all this external stuff. So how do we achieve happiness if it's not money? It's not this achievement sort of oriented type of thing. Here are 5 steps that are scientifically proven to improve your happiness and your love for others. So being grateful for 3 new things every day. This whole list takes about 3 or 4 minutes per day. So if you guys do this for 3 weeks, this is what they say in the studies, then it will literally change your brain to be happier and to have more love in your life. So that's part of the reason I have it up here. Journaling. So when you journal, you're looking back on your day and saying, what was one positive event that happened? So you can write about that for a couple minutes. And what happens is that now it trains your brain to say, you know what? I'm going to look for those positive events each day instead of the negative events. Exercising is great. It really releases endorphins that makes you happier. It makes it easier for you to be able to love. And it also teaches you something very important, and that's that what you do actually matters. I was not born like this. I was skinny when I was in high school, and I think my highest bench press was 330 pounds, double my body weight. But that is from hard work, and over time you achieve that. It didn't happen overnight. Exercise helps you to learn that. Meditation can get us, in our society, we are all about what's happening now, and being distracted, and our phones are fantastic, but they're terrible at the same time. And this really helps us to try to focus and get away from all of that distraction that can get us in trouble there. Random acts of kindness. Easy way to do this, I think, is just to tell somebody you care. One person per day, just give them a text, hey, if you really mean a lot to me, or whatever it looks like for you. You do those things, it only takes a few minutes per day, you're going to start to train yourself to have that internal world be happier. Instead of going for all these achievement gaps or whatever, this is the way to love and happiness. Okay, now we're going to get into the practical. Get a job. Who here has a job? Raise your hand if you got a job. Okay, decent amount. People with a job. All right. So the value of getting a job, to me, I think when I look back, is that you learn the value of money. Before you have a job, when you think about money, you just think about asking your parents for it, right? It's like, well, I need something, let me just, my parents buy it for me or not. But once you start working, you start translating that money into how many hours it takes to get that item. So let's say you wanted a $100 pair of shoes or something, and you make 10 bucks an hour. Okay, now it's 10 hours. You're like, okay, this is 2 days. Is it really worth that pair of shoes? And you start to realize that. The other thing that happened to me especially was that I started to see other people that I'm working with, and I'm saying, you know what? Do I really want to work this job? So when I first started working in high school, it was at Outback. I was a busboy. I made about $7 or $8 an hour. A lot of that was on tips. And then I got promoted into carry-out. So I started making more money. It was about $16 to $20 an hour. So pretty good money, especially this is a little while ago. I'm 36, so I'm a little older than you guys. But it was a great job. But part of what I saw was that there was a lot of adults working there. I mean, you had people that were in their 30s and 40s with families working these really hard jobs. And I'm like, man, now I don't really want to do this forever. I like to be around people, and I liked to have that interaction. I got that from learning. I learned that from being in that job. But I also learned that this is not something I want to do forever. And that really motivated me to actually study and learn. So like, when I was in high school, I was like, I don't even know any of this stuff. I don't even know English. I don't even know any of this. Why don't I even know it? I'm not going to do English. I'm good at math. That's my thing. And I was wrong. I have to do English all the time. I have to write all sorts of stuff. I have to write people stuff all the time. And I was totally wrong. But I didn't know that at the time. So part of it was to say, you know what? I don't want to be in this job anymore. How can I get out of this job? Well, I need to actually learn some stuff. And that's what started that process, is getting a job, learning the value of money, thinking about money and what it takes to get it, versus, right now that may be for many of you, just asking the parents, but in the future it'll be, well, how many hours does it take to get to that spot? So, pay, hourly versus value. So this is a concept that many of you guys are thinking about hourly. What do I make hourly? How much did I make before? What kind of job can I get? And that value is more like, what am I providing in order to get money? So, for instance, I have a client, and he's got lots of money, over $10 million. One of the strategies that I talked to him about was going to save him about $1 million in taxes over the course of his lifetime. And I explained that to him in about 20 minutes. So I saved him $1 million in 20 minutes. So what should I get paid hourly for that? Well, it's hard to say. That particular guy pays me $20,000 a year. And so you say, well, is it worth it? Yes, it is. So to give you guys an example, let's say I was a server at Outback, and I was to serve you some food that you could eat, and you didn't have to eat again for an entire year. You say, wow, that's pretty crazy. It's the same amount of time for me to prepare this meal, but you don't have to eat again for a year. Would you pay more for that meal? Of course you would. So that is part of the concept here. Is what are you providing as value? So the reason I say that is because that's what you want to work on, is how can you learn more valuable things? How can you improve your value personally so that you can earn more money, basically? And thinking about the value that you're providing versus the hourly amount that you may make. So that's a valuable thing right there. Pursue gifts. So a lot of, I heard this last time I was in here, it's really important to pursue what you're good at. Like I said, I'm good at math, I'm good at talking with people. That's one of what I'm sort of born with. And so pursuing your gifts is a really valuable thing. Soft skills. So there's a saying that says that C students manage A students. And that's kind of a weird thing. You say, well, why would that be? is because soft skills are actually really valuable in society, in the job market, and how you're able to earn money. So what are soft skills? It's the ability to talk to people, it's the ability to translate ideas and communicate effectively with other people. So it's being able to look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, smile at them, have a certain posture, dress a certain way. So the way that you present yourself, these soft skills, they're actually really valuable in society. And so if you know everything there is to know about something, but you can't communicate that with somebody else, then someone who can communicate it is going to be your boss. And so if you can do both, that's really the hot spot, right? Because you know a lot of stuff and you're able to communicate that well. So really work on these soft skills. Public speaking, being able to communicate your ideas is really valuable. And so for some of you guys like me that aren't like English, this is another reason to like it. Because that's one of the ways that we communicate with somebody else about our ideas. Being able to formulate your idea into writing it down and then saying, okay, somebody else take a look at what I got here. So soft skills are really important. Don't box yourself in. I think this is really, really important. And I think that when I look back on being successful and how I was able to do that, I think that this was a really transformational thing. It happened when I was in college. I was pledging a fraternity, and they were doing all sorts of things that were kind of pushing me out of my comfort zone. But it helped me to realize that I could do so much more than I realized. And let me give you an example. The organization that I met Barbie through, Comfort Zone Camp, there's 18 kids, and they've all had these different challenges. In the beginning of the session, we're all trying to learn each other's names. And I've always been terrible at names. And they go around in a circle, and we had to say each person's name, another word with the same first letter as their name. So I'm Tommy T-Rex, you know, Tommy and then T-Rex. And then a random number between 1 and 18. And they were not linear, so it wasn't 1 through 18. It was like, 10, 15, 5, all these random numbers. And so the exercise was each person had to say what the person before them said, their name and all this other stuff. And so as you went around, everybody had to say all the people before them, right? And I was almost last in that, so I was terrified. I'm like, oh no, I gotta say everybody's names. I cannot do this. This is terrible. I'm totally gonna fail at this. And we sat there. It was about 30 minutes, and after 30 minutes, I was shocked that I was able to do that. So for the whole weekend, I knew everybody's names. I learned 18 people's names. I knew this random thing and a random number about that. And for me, that just shows us that we're capable of so much more than we think that we are. So that is a very powerful thing. Your teachers, your family, you put yourself in this box that says you're good at school, or you're good with your friends, you're good at sports, or whatever it is. It's good that you're good at that, but just realize that you're capable of so much more. And when you realize that, I think that is a powerful thing, and for me it certainly was. The perfect career. I think that there's 3 main things for a perfect career. Doing something that you love, something that people will pay you for, and something that is going to help other people. So those are the 3 main things that kind of, if you can get all 3 of those, then that's really the perfect spot. I'm going to take a drink of water here for a second, but I'll leave it at that. All right. So a lot of you guys are young. You're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I had more responsibility. I wish my parents would trust me more. They let me do whatever I want. So how can you prove to them that you are becoming more mature? How can you get more responsibility in your life? Delayed gratification. I know that's not as exciting a word, but different ways to do that. Working is one of those ways. You are sacrificing your time right now for money in the future. That is delayed gratification. Saving for the future. If you take some of that money, instead of spending all the money that you earn, you save it and invest it. That's how it works. Just a general fact is that people are bad at this. People are bad at personal finance. Most schools don't have personal finance classes, and many of them don't, or if they have had them, they haven't had them very long. So that's something that we're really not very trained on. And so half the people that win the lottery are broke within 2 years. So it's not about money per se, it's about how you handle them. So just this idea that, oh my goodness, if I just had money, I'd be great. No, that's not how it works. Half the people are broke in 2 years. 70% of people that win the lottery are broke within 7 years. So there's a lot of data suggesting it's not about the amount of money, it's about how you interact with it. So that's part of what we're going to get into a little bit more around investing and savings. We're going to get into a little bit more of the details on that. So, has anybody heard of Dave Ramsey? I think you guys are in a class. Yeah, Dave Ramsey? Okay. How many of you are in the economics class right now? Is everybody in that? These are Dave Ramsey's baby steps. So Dave Ramsey's a guy, he's got a podcast, I think he's the second or third most listened to guy, 20 million people a week or something like that. And so he has this formula for success on money. So these are some practical tips. It's like, well, how do we get good at money? You save up a little money, $1,000. The second thing is to pay off all your debt. Third thing is to save up an emergency fund in case something happens, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. The fourth is to invest 15% towards your retirement. The fifth is to pay for your kids' college. And sixth is to pay off your house early. And seventh is to build your wealth and to give a lot. So these are general principles that are really helpful. You guys are in a little bit of a different position from people that I'm normally talking to because you're not adults. You don't have a budget yet. You don't have maybe the means to build up a $1,000 emergency fund and kind of do some of this stuff. So maybe some of this is for your future, but it's good to know, hey, I want to start doing well with money. I want to learn about this. I don't want my marriage to get torn up. I don't want to fall into the trap of trying to get rich and lose half the money if I were to inherit it or win the lottery. These are the helpful ways to get after it, and Dave Ramsey has a lot of good tools here. So we're going to talk about something that I think is one of the most important things for investing. Does anybody here, so on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as investing, yeah, good hand there, that's good, I didn't ask it, but on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means you know a lot about investing, and 0 means you know nothing. Raise your hand if you're a 0 to 5, like you don't really know much about investing, okay? Okay, so let's go to the opposite side. Who here is a 5 to 10? So you know a good amount or you know a lot about investing? Woo, look at these guys. Wow, I love that. That is awesome. Can anybody here, I don't know if they can hear you guys, but does anybody know about what's compound interest? You guys know what that is? Can you explain that? Here. Yeah, so he said it's the value of your money that increases over time due to interest. So yes, that's exactly right. It is an incredible thing. So Einstein, Albert Einstein, you guys have heard of him, said it's the 8th wonder of the world. He who knows it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Okay, so this is a really, really powerful thing. I'm going to give you guys a story about a company you've heard of, Coca-Cola, right? 100 years ago, you could invest in Coca-Cola for the first time. So the stock market, what it is means you can invest in these companies. So the best way to understand it is to say, well, I like Coca-Cola. I'm going to invest in that company. If they earn money, then I earn money. Same thing is true with Amazon or Apple or Netflix, lots of different things. So Coca-Cola became a public company that you can invest in 100 years ago, all right? The shares were $40 a share at that time. Can anybody guess what that value of that one share of $40 is worth today? Any guesses? Very, very low. Just give you one more guess. It is millions. If you guys get within 10% of this number, I will give $1,000 to Banner Christian today. You guys can work on it as a group. I'm going to give you 2 more guesses. If you get within 10% of the number, I'm going to give you $1,000 today, like right now. Two more guesses.
Wait.
10% of the number. All right. Do you have a guess? You guys have an agreement here on what this number is? I'll tell you after the first guess if you're higher or lower than that.
25 million.
It's lower than 25 million. guys want to go with that number? No! You guys got to agree. You got to agree. Is that what you guys want to do? No, I'm done. That is actually the answer. Good job. Very interesting. Very exciting. I'm glad you guys got that. Part of what happens as you get more money and you're earning more is that it's really important to give. So that's part of what I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to give today. And I think that giving your time and your energy is actually higher than giving money. But I think especially for you all, that may seem like a lot of money. I don't know. So that is, it's something that I'm able to do, and so I'm happy to do it. I love what you guys are doing here. So I'm glad you guessed that number. Student loans. So that just gives you an idea of compound interest. $40 becomes $15 million after 100 years. That's crazy, right? So you guys are super young. If you invest now for your retirement, it is tons of money in the future. We're going to look at that in just a second. But student loans is something that is important for you guys because many of you may be going to college. Who's here is planning to go to college or thinking about going to college? A lot of you guys? Okay, just a lot, pretty much everybody? Okay, so this is something that is probably an important part of your process is what is the real cost of going to college as far as student loans? Like, what is the cost? 100,000? Yeah, that could be it. In state right now, it's between $25,000 to $30,000 in-state tuition. If you guys don't have scholarships or you're not working, then that would be roughly how much it would cost you. And so what you do with loans in general is it's compound interest in the other way. So you're paying interest to borrow that money today because you don't have it, right? So that's how compound interest works against you. So part of the process with money and a big decision for many of you guys is where are you going to school and is it going to be worth it? So I think this is something you should spend some time on. You know, is it worth it to go out of state for this college that's going to cost an extra $20K a year? You know, are you going to be able to earn enough for that to make sense? And can you kind of try to quantify that? Can you write it down and say, you know what, I think that this school has got the prospects. I'm going to go to Georgia Tech, and they've got these amazing programs where I can work at Google or whatever it is. So I think that you can make a case for it, but try to think thoughtfully about this. And I think that Dave Ramsey would try to encourage you to not have any student loans. So try to work as you're in college, try to get scholarships, try to get some money from wherever that you can to try to reduce that number down. Because the compound interest we just talked about, that Coca-Cola, it's going to work against you. So the cost of this interest that you're paying is a lot over time. So the average student comes out with about $30,000 of student loan debt at this time, but it really varies a lot. It depends on where you're going to school and how much it is. So I really encourage you guys to look at those numbers and try to figure out what it is. An easy way to figure out what the interest is on something that you're buying, let's just use a car because that's a little bit easier example. If you buy a car for, let's say it's, they say it's $20,000, right? And it's 5% interest to buy this car. Well, instead of, the easy way to figure it out is to take what the actual payment is times the amount of months that you have left. So usually it's 60 months or something like that. That will give you the total cost. And what you'll find that it'll be like $25,000 over 5 or 6 years, right? So that's the easy way to do it. Is you take the payment times the amount of payments, and that will give you the total cost of the car. So it's not actually $20,000. It's much more than that when you include the interest that you're being charged. So keep that in mind for that one. So this is a chart that you cannot see at all, which is fine. This is two different people. One of them invests at age 19. They invest for 8 years, $2,000 a year, which is $166 a month. That person earning interest over the next, until they're 65 years old, will have $2.2 million. So they've saved for just 8 years, $2,000 a year. So by the time they're 27, they stop saving, they never save ever again. They have $2.2 million. So that shows you some of the power that we're talking about of compound interest. The next person, they start saving when the other person stops. So they start saving at age 27, and they save $2,000 a year from age 27 all the way to age 65. they only have $1.5 million. Okay? So the time that you have to invest is really important, really valuable. And most people, when they see this, they say, man, I need to invest today. This is going to be the best thing. You guys are young, you have this really good opportunity to do it. So I would encourage you guys, if you want more maturity, if you want more responsibility from your family or your friends, open an investment account. Get a Roth IRA. And put some money away for the future. They will be like, what? What are you doing? This is amazing. So if you guys do something like that, if you delay gratification, you're not going to be able to buy stuff with that money now, but now in the future, you may have a ton of money to help you retire. So I really encourage you guys to consider that. Let's see. Okay, so we're wrapping up here. I'll answer some questions in a second here. You guys maybe that'll be helpful as well. Pursue greatness. I think this is part of the theme of this whole series throughout all the months. So I'm glad that I aligned that with this chart here. But pursuing greatness is something that is inside of each one of you. And I think that sometimes you don't realize that. And I just hope that somebody today just realizes that there is greatness inside of you. And pursuing that greatness with God is your purpose. That is your responsibility to do that. So I really hope that you consider that, you look for that greatness, you look outside the box, you realize that you are capable more than you ever dreamed. And that is an incredible thing. You can learn so much, and it's just amazing. So thank you guys today for the time. I'm going to do some Q&A and talk more about money, but I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Where are my 1,000 at?
Woo! No, I will be giving that money for sure. So I didn't get into this earlier. Let me give a little background around what I do for a living, a little bit more detail. So I'm what's called a certified financial planner. Okay, and that means that I took 6 college courses. I have a college degree. I have 3 years of experience in my career, and it is a 10-hour exam that goes over 2 days, and it has about a 50% pass rate. So you guys think about your test right now, this is an incredibly difficult test. It has 550 different topics, and so that makes it very challenging. There's about 80,000 people in the country that have it, which is fantastic. There's a lot of people, but that helps to set you apart as an advisor. All right, so I've been an advisor for 12 years. I've been in Richmond Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes Magazine. I've been in the Richmond Times-Dispatch. I'm one of the top 3. I'm going to find out if I won that or not in a few weeks. So I'm excited about that. But it just gives you some idea around that. As far as like hourly wages, it's about $300 an hour if you average it all out, which is pretty good. But some of those, it really varies on the value. So it goes from maybe 0 in many cases. I don't make any money for giving you right now, but also all the way up to probably $5,000 an hour or something like that. So some of the cases where you're really providing a lot of value, then you're able to do that. So just to give you an idea of sort of where I'm at in my career and some of the value that I can provide as far as questions for you guys here. Anybody have any questions about?
What college did you go to?
I went to Radford University in Southwest Virginia, and then I went to Boston University for my CFP training, and I did College of Financial Planning for other designations that I had. So part of the value that you provide is continuing to learn all the time about all sorts of stuff. So it's not like you just go to college and then you're done. It's really about a continuing learning type of scenario, and I think that especially right now with the technology that we have available to us, there's so much information. It's an incredible time where you can just YouTube all sorts of amazing things. It's great. So yeah, I have a degree in finance and economics, and so so I'm good at math. I've always been good at it, but the ability to be able to talk to people and communicate that to others is really the difference. So my career sounds really exciting, but there's an 80% dropout rate over 5 years. So it's very challenging. It has lots of flexibility. I can come here, I can do whatever I want pretty much. And then obviously the pay is really good, but it's a really big dropout rate. So it's risky. So it's not necessarily for everybody, and I think for me personally, it's been good because I've been able to combine that love of math and the ability to actually talk to people about it. Any questions? I barely had any, and so by the time I was done, school was actually much less expensive back then. I think that was part of it, but I think it was maybe a year, so it was pretty fast.
At what age did you start like saving and budgeting?
Saving and budgeting. I think that I began that when I was your age because you guys are broke, right? You know how that is. You gotta like, I couldn't even fill up my whole car. You know, you're starting that right away. It's like, okay, I can only put $3 into my gas to get where I need to go, and I think part of it is when you have little money, that puts pressure, and that will hopefully incentivize you guys to look at this stuff closer. Say, I need to figure out, how I'm going to pay for everything I'm going to eat. College was certainly like that, where I had to figure out, hey man, I can't go and do this or that because I need the money to be able to go forward. I would say more formally college, and then the Dave Ramsey program. I've done this Financial Peace University, which is a 9-week class. We really get into the budgeting a lot more. I've helped to lead that class in the last 4 years. This will be 14 times. So I think that I'm continuing to do that. It's something that's ongoing as far as that's concerned. Saving and investing. I had a class in 8th grade about investing, and so I was into it from there. I loved all the numbers. At that time, you could only see the financial information from the last day on paper, like on the newspaper. So you could see, and you had to like figure out how to learn it. One of the things about finance and personal finance is that there's a lot of words that are involved, like compound interest, that are kind of weird. So you kind of need to learn a language. It's kind of like learning a different language. And the thing about personal finance is that something you're going to need to know like forever. So it's something you should definitely spend some time and energy. And I'm glad you guys had that class to do it. But in college in 2004. My first investment class, and I had 58% return in 3 months, and I was hooked. I was like, man, this is fantastic. I was using all these futures and options, oil stuff, different individual stocks, commodities, ETFs, all sorts of things that were pretty exciting, and that really, I kind of knew at that time that I wanted to do something with that. So.
How long did it take you to study for your final exam?
Which one, the CFP?
Yeah.
So the CFP is not like a requirement for an advisor. That particular exam, the typical time frame to study is 15 months. I think I did it in about, I think I was about 10 months. So it was a little faster. But the last like 2 weeks, I did nothing else. Nothing. Like 8 hours a day, that's all I did. That's a very, very hard exam. You're not going to deal with exams like that. There's a couple other ones that are like that in finance. One of them that's actually harder is a 3-part exam that you only take once per year. It's called the CFA. And if you do that, then you can, it's basically the average income is like $250,000. Very, very high income, but very, very challenging. Like the youngest person to get that is like 23 years old. So it's very hard to get it. It's also, it's very inexpensive, and I don't even think you need a degree to get it. So like, part of what I was saying before is like, it's only like $2,000 to take that CFA exam, or the CFP is a similar amount. So it's not like money is the issue, it's can you do it? Can you put the time and energy to learn this stuff to do it? And that is a high bar, and that makes it so that when people come to me, they see that I've done that, they're like, maybe this guy's smart enough, maybe he can do well for me. So that's part of it, is to show others that you've sort of made this achievement. I think that's a big part of it. Good question. Public speaking. I public speaking in college. I think I said that last time. So I guess it's been about 4 years, and I don't really like it. I'm not good at it generally, and I think that I'm not as bad as it may seem. But like when I first started, I couldn't even read. Like literally, I could do nothing. So I read this book called How to Do Public Speaking or something like that by Dale Carnegie. So Dale Carnegie, that's the author, and he basically convinced me that there's all these amazing speakers and public figures that were terrible at public speaking, so I could do it too. And so that was really helpful. I don't know if you're familiar with TED Talks, but I read a book about that, and I just watched all these TED Talks, and I was like, man, this is really incredible how they're able to present in such a great way. I think that public speaking is a very valuable skill. I shared this last year about my sister passing away. That's the reason that I wanted to be able to do it. It's because I wanted to do her eulogy and I couldn't do it. Like literally, like I said, I could barely breathe. I couldn't walk. I remember the first time I did a presentation was about her, and it was probably a year after she died, and it was maybe 2 minutes long, and I could not even breathe. I couldn't feel my legs as I was walking up to do it, and it was really intense. Like physically, I was very unprepared. And so that book gives you a lot of ways that you're able to learn to do public speaking. So what I've learned is that you actually need to know about your topic to speak publicly about something. And so when I was in college, they would say, okay, you're going to speak on this topic like in a few days, and I can pick whatever topic you want, but I had no idea about these topics. So like, I was not really qualified to speak publicly on that topic. You know what I mean? So I think you actually have to know about it. And then there's all sorts of like little techniques, like breathing techniques and like strategies to try to help yourself to be able to do it. Public speaking is the biggest fear that anyone has. People fear public speaking more than they fear death, which is the number 2. So I think that it's a challenging thing. I think that it's a valuable thing because it can allow you to get into opportunities that you may not have otherwise. And for me personally, like I said, my sister, like I just knew that I didn't want that to happen again. You know, I didn't want to allow that to happen again. And so I did my father's eulogy a few years later in 2016. So that was pretty special to be able to have the skill, basically. It's a skill, you can learn it, to be able to do it. Steve Jobs is a good example. If you go back, you guys probably don't know who that is, but if you go back to his early talks, he was terrible. And later on, everyone sort of revered him as this great orator, and he was able to sell his products, selling Apple phones and everything, but he actually was really terrible. So just another example of people that we feel like are really good at public speaking, but they weren't always. And so one of the things the book talked about is the fact that people that aren't good at public speaking actually have put more pressure, and they may actually become better public speakers than people that are maybe more naturally able to do it. So I think that's another example of doing things that you didn't think you could do later on, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Comfort Zone Camp. So Comfort Zone Camp is a bereavement camp, so it's for kids who've had a death. That word means that one of their family members has had a death. Usually it's 3 months after, at least, but it can be years afterwards. And so I've done the camp 15 times now. I've sponsored a bunch of camps, and I've helped to raise probably over $100,000 for the organization over the last few years. So I watched a video online, which I encourage you to do. You can go to comfortzonecamp.org, and I watched the video of the camp. So it was after my sister died, and you know, basically I could see that I'd been through this tragedy, and certainly my sister and you know, the interaction that I had with God and being able to help me through that process really helped me to heal. But I thought, man, if I can help other kids heal through this process of dealing with this death, and how valuable would that be? So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I saw this video and I saw them having lots of fun, and it was, you know, I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do, but I got there and I just fell in love with it. I thought that the depth that you get there, these kids are sharing very, very personal things. They're very personal stories of their loved ones passing, and they're getting emotional. And I just think that what that camp did for me personally was to show me that so many things, but you just learn perspective. Like we're going through our life, and we're just, you know, we're happy, we're dealing with our friends and issues and whatever, but when you come in contact with these kids that have had a death of one of their parents, you think, man, I can't complain about somebody not texting me back, or, you know, some teacher that's not paying attention, or whatever your issue is. The issues that you normally have just went so much further down. Like, I can't worry about that, you know? And I think that is such a beautiful way to live. You try to live in this higher, like, hey, I don't have to worry about all this other stuff. Let me worry about the big things. Let me take care of those kids and my wife, love them so well, and I think that the camp really helped me with that. So I would say that was very instrumental in my life. I love that camp. It's incredible. So I encourage you guys. When I talked about giving a little bit, I'm giving money, but it's more important, it's more valuable to me to give this my time than the money. Not only because I make good money, so to come over here actually costs me money. You know, you think about it like that. But you know, giving your time and energy is much more powerful than just giving money, because I'm not going to notice that $1,000. That sounds crazy. There's a story in the Bible which I love, and this is close to the greatest commandment, where there was a woman who gave 2 cents basically, and Jesus said, "Look at that woman. She has given more money than everybody else combined." Because it's not about the amount, it's about the percentage. Okay? So she gave 100% of her money. If I gave you 100% of your money to Banner right now, that would be a much bigger thing. So like the percentage that I'm giving you, I don't know what it would be compared to you. It depends on how much money you have, but it's probably like $10 or something like that. So think about it like that. It sounds like a lot, but it's not as much as you think. About 4 years, but what do you think? Think it was all right? Okay. So I think that I'm comfortable up here, but I think that hopefully I'm able to share with you guys some information that's helpful, and that's part of why I'm doing it. But yeah, no, I don't really enjoy it. It's challenging. It's a challenge to hear for sure. But at the same time, I know that there's important things, and I know that this is a skill that part of how to build this skill is to practice. So this isn't the first time, but certainly as you practice, you get better at it, and then it makes you more comfortable. And it's just like anything else in sport or anything. As you practice, you get better at it, and that'll help you out. Are you interested in public speaking at all, or no?
What personally brings you happiness, like, besides money?
Well, money doesn't. That's the thing. That's what I think that's part of the message, is to say that money, we gotta keep that down. I think that money, people pursue that, and that is the wrong thing to pursue. And that Bible verse is all about that. If you pursue money, that's your primary goal, and trust me, it was my primary goal. When I got out of college, I thought, what do you want to do with your life? Well, I don't really know. I just want to make some money. Okay, and that's all I did, and that was really bad. And so that last year, I told you guys before about that. That led to destruction for me personally. So do not do that. Do not pursue money only. That will tear you up. But what brings me happiness? I think that certainly God brings me happiness. If you think about that in kind of a weird way. When my sister died, he was there for me. He helped to heal me. There's so much regret and guilt and shame that we all carry, and all these challenging things. And for God to be there for me and heal me of that is just incredible. So I love God, and I love what he's been able to do in my life. So I think that's number one. My family, like I said, I come home and my daughter literally screams, "Daddy, Daddy," and runs across the house. And I know that's not going to last forever, but I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. That we have this relationship, that she just loves to be around me. So I think that's really cool. Obviously, my wife, our interactions together, there's a lot of things we have to do because we have these little babies, but the time and the energy that we share together is probably what brings me. Those are the top things. So I think that's my message, is to try to keep those as the top things. Like, keep God, keep your family, keep your friends as your top things that you really care about and you're really happy for. And if you're having a hard time being happy, follow those 5 things. Gratitude, journaling, exercise, meditation, and random acts of kindness. Just telling people that you appreciate them. You do those for a few minutes every single day, and you're going to start to feel the love for others. You're going to start to love them better. Your relationships will be better. It's just incredible. So, I don't know how much time we have. We're good.
Yeah, no, 5 minutes.
That was going to go off in 1 minute. Any last questions? Awesome. Well, it's great to be with you guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, y'all, we've got about 3 minutes before the bell rings, so you can go ahead and go to your locker, switch out the things that you need, and then go ahead and head to your second period classes.